Listen up, Simon Miller, you bald fraud. I'd love to say this to your face, but you never grace us with your presence here at WhatCulture. You know, mainly because you live at the other end of the country. But still, you think you're immune from criticism just because you never take any holidays and you're bigger than me and you're a really nice guy? Well, fair enough. I'm joking, of course. Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilbourn from WhatCulture, filling in for Simon Miller as we give the good bits on Raw and Up and the bad bits are down as Simon takes his first holiday in forever. And I will point out, as the man himself said, since he left the UK, John Cena has sold his soul to The Rock. Bianca Belair won the Elimination Chamber after Jade Cargill returned and kicked Naomi's ass. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn tried to near kill each other and then Randy Orton showed back up. And now Io Sky is Women's World Champion. On behalf of everybody, Simon, please take more holidays. So this week's Raw started with a big recap, of course, of what happened at Elimination Chamber, mainly focusing, as they did throughout this show, on John Cena turning heel, betraying Cody Rhodes and selling his soul to The Rock. They kept showing different angles of it, people's reactions to it, kids crying, funny, but also it felt like, just like the rest of us, WWE couldn't still believe that it actually happened. And yes, in a business where you never say never, this was one of those nevers, wasn't it? And then the first person we saw on the show was a very pissed off CM Punk. He stormed down to the ring, pushed a Prime bottle over, hopped on the announce table and announced he was there to address his enemies, which meant everyone, basically. Even did a bit of crowd work. Who should I start with, guys? Dwayne, The Rock, the final boss is who he started with, calling him a bald fraud who thought he was immune from criticism because he's on the TKO board. But he said Dwayne was having a midlife crisis. He always hid behind what a big star he was because he never showed up all the time. And then he mocked Dwayne's Goosebumps thing, calling that BS, and said that he'd never been so delusional as to carry around a fake title. He said he was the people's champion because he had earned it, not you, Dwayne. And then he turned his attention to John Cena, who he said he'd never been so desperate to sell his soul like he did. He said that he saw right through him and that he stole something from him at the Elimination Chamber. Hustle, loyalty, and respect, 20 years, all BS, says CM Punk. And then he said that Mr. Don't Quit gave up on his dreams, gave up on the fans, and gave up on the kids that love him. He called both John Cena and The Rock bald frauds, and he said he was going to get his hands on them and make them make a wish that he never did. Finally, it was the turn of little brother Seth Rollins, and Punk even referenced Becky Lynch telling her to come get her man before he put Seth in a wheelchair. This, of course, brings out Seth Rollins, and the two of them fight in the aisle, and the security all pile in and separate them. They keep getting back into it. They keep diving into the ring to grab each other or running around in the crowd or whatever. They could not be separated for ages. The crowd were loving it. There was holy chance, there was a lot of effing and jeffing at the start of this show, including from Pat McAfee, but the fans absolutely adored it. I thought this was an incredible opening segment. As I said, I think it was one of the best promos Punk has cut since he returned to WWE, and I'm really excited considering where this headed later on in the show. But to kick off the Fallout episode of Elimination Chamber with this was just perfection. This gets a golden up from me. Next up, we go to Judgment Day's Clubhouse, and they're not too despondent despite Liv Morgan missing out in the Elimination Chamber. I mean, they are still women's tag team champions, of course, and now Liv was suggesting that Raquel turn her attention to the women's IC titles. She said she was going to keep an eye on the title match coming later on in the evening. Dominic Mysterio is still desperate to add another member to the Judgment Day, but Finn Balor is having none of it. He said that Carlito and Dominic got embarrassed by Bron Breakker last week, and Dom was like, you're the one who had a chair and you got punked out by him. But Finn Balor promised to deal with him later on in the evening, and Liv Morgan said she wanted no more to do with the whole Jade Cargill thing because she had nothing to do with it. Then it was time for the weekly Gunther Beats Up a Fan Favourite segment. He did it to Akira Tozawa previously, of course, and now it was the turn of Otis. Gunther cut a promo on him walking down to the ring, saying that when he looks in the mirror, he sees himself with a world title around his waist, whilst Otis can't even find a belt that fits him. A bit harsh. But also, he cheap shot at Otis whilst pretending to turn his attention to what he was going to do to Jey Uso at WrestleMania. Bad man! So, of course, Gunther dominated Otis in the early exchanges, but even he should know that shoulder blocks weren't going to work on Otis. Eventually, he kicked him to the outside, and after paintbrushing him a bit, Otis fired back, hitting a fall-away slam on Gunther on the outside to take us to a break. When we come back, Otis is in trouble again, but this time he's powering up, he's eating chops, he's ripping his shirt off, he's asking for more, and he drops Gunther. He hits him with slams and splashes, and even a caterpillar elbow drop for 2, but he misses the Vader bomb, and, well, Gunther really hones in at that point, hitting a huge drop kick, taking Otis' head off with several clotheslines, including one to the back of the head. There was a brief flurry for Otis towards the end, but in the end, Gunther drops him with a huge powerbomb to get the 1-2-3. Post-match, Gunther wants even more though, and he tries to put Otis in a sleeper, and Akira Tozawa jumps on his back to try and stop him, but all he does is he gets powerbombed into Otis for his troubles. It looked like Gunther was going to do more, but out comes Jey Uso to make the save. He spears Gunther out of the ring and stands tall. Then Grayson Waller and Austin Theory come in to attack him and set something up for next week, but he even knocks them out of the ring, more spears handing out, and it looks like he's going to be the one yet again getting the upper hand in this feud with Gunther, but Gunther sneaks back in and puts Jey Uso in the sleeper hold, passes him out and stands over him, stands tall over the #1 contender at WrestleMania to really mark his card. And I'll be honest, I think when they first announced Jey Uso as challenging Gunther after he won the Royal Rumble, I was looking at my watch and thinking, geez, how are they going to drag this out all the way to WrestleMania other than, you know, yeah, people doubt Jey Uso and Gunther thinks he's just going to run through him. But I think they've been doing some great work with this. You've still presumably got the match between Gunther and Big Jim to do. So I think they're really well on the road to WrestleMania. I think this match has just gone from strength to strength, more from Jey Uso in a little bit. But yeah, for my sins, really enjoyed Gunther beating up all the people we really, really like as a message to Jey Uso. So this gets another up. We get a video package hyping up the main event of the evening between Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, and we're reminded that Rhea has never beaten Io, of course, and then it was nice to see UFC Hall of Famer Clay Guida in the crowd before we go backstage for an interview with AJ Styles, who can't believe what's been going on with John Cena. Up pops Karrion Kross, love that guy, to attempt to corrupt him, to be the devil on his shoulder, as AJ Styles said, but he's no John Cena, is AJ Styles, and whilst Karrion Kross was enjoying what he was doing here, I don't think this has quite had the effect on AJ Styles that Karrion Kross thinks it has. But I do love the fact that this guy is just seemingly involved in everything. Anything that goes bad for anyone, he will take credit for. I would not be surprised if he looked at the Cody Rhodes situation and went, "Told you so." What followed was the first of 3 title matches this evening. Of course, it was Lyra Valkyria, the inaugural Women's Intercontinental Champion, defending her belt against Ivy Nile, and understandably, Lyra wanted to get her revenge straight out the gate on Ivy for, well, basically earning this match by jumping her the other week. But in the end, Ivy Nile, who I just adore from her time in NXT, was very clever and dragon screw leg whipped Lyra Valkyria to take control as we went to a break. Valkyria here set out powerbomb after the break, but the leg is in too much pain to allow her to make a cover. She tries for a tornado DDT afterwards, and Ivy Nile just deadlift suplexes her. She's freakishly strong up to drop her down, and despite Lyra Valkyria attempting her finisher, again the leg gives out, and this time it's Ivy Nile's turn to hit a sit-out powerbomb for a great 2 count. Nile keeps targeting the leg and then put us on an ankle lock that Master Gable would have been proud of, really wrenching back on it. Lyra sold this brilliantly and scratched and clawed her way to a rope break. Ivy Nile continued, hitting her with a suplex, but missed some knees in the corner, and Valkyria fired back, hitting the neck breaker and a desperation Nightwing to get the 1-2-3. I really don't know how to rate this one, so I'm going to cheat and give it an up and a down at the same time. The down is not related to any of the work that these 2 women did, because yet again, another really enjoyable Women's Intercontinental Championship match. But there is this feeling, isn't there? I felt this the other week with that brilliant match against Dakota Kai as well, where there's no real investment in a story. Yes, Ivy Nile jumped Lyra Valkyria, but that was about it in terms of selling us this match. And it feels like every time this women's mid-card title gets defended, the same thing happens. You have about 5-10 minutes at the start of the match where fans just don't care, because they've not been conditioned to care, to be perfectly honest, because they haven't been told a reason to invest in this. But then the work, which is why this match gets an up, really gets people into it, and by the end the fans are absolutely loving it. So what I'm saying here is,
It deserves a down because WWE need to put more effort into it, a bit like they do with the US title. Really love what they're doing with her and Chelsea, with that and Chelsea Green over on SmackDown, but even that is kind of a bit of a last thought sometimes. But with this one, it's even more so just send them out there and rely on them putting on a great match, which they do, but the fan reaction exemplifies why this needs to be given more care and attention. But great work yet again from Valkyria and Ivy Nile. Jackie Redmond then tries interviewing a very grumpy Seth Rollins as he's walking through the arena, but as she asks about CM Punk, Seth spots him yet again, and the two collide, security really earning their money tonight, separating the two of them. Postman Pierce gets into it and says, if you two want to fight each other so bad, let's settle it next week. Madison Square Garden, steel cage match. Seth Rollins saying that he wants to do what he did to Roman Reigns and basically take Punk out of WrestleMania. The match is agreed to. It's set for next Monday night, of course, and the segment ends with Pierce telling Seth Rollins, get on your bus and piss off. Just a quick word on Punk and Seth, actually, whilst I'm here, because I'm really fascinated to see what happens with the two of them and others at WrestleMania, because it feels like they aren't probably going to do a singles match between Punk and Seth, because they already had that huge match on the Netflix debut, of course, and now building up to a steel cage match in Madison Square Garden. You can't really go bigger than that at WrestleMania. You sense Roman Reigns is going to be involved, but there was also that line from CM Punk when he came out saying, people think that I've exhausted my opportunities to main event WrestleMania. Is there a chance they make this a triple threat? And I know people are upset about numerous triple threats, and we'll get to another one later on in this show, that it could overshadow elements of WrestleMania because people want the purer one-on-one match. But is there a chance they decide to do Punk, Seth, Roman in the main event of night one of WrestleMania? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Speaking of WrestleMania, we are going to be there too as part of the last dates on our WhatCulture Wrestling World Tour, and you can join us. We're basically following the WWE as they do their UK dates at the end of March. We are going to be hitting Manchester, Belfast, Glasgow, and London, ending up in Las Vegas, as I mentioned, on the night before WrestleMania weekend. The Friday night, we're doing a SmackDown watch-along at the brilliant HyperX Arena. Miller is going to be back, don't worry by then, to film a live ups and downs if you want to be involved, and that will have meet and greets, the live show. Me and Hamflet are going to be doing a big WrestleMania preview at that HyperX Arena show. But do join us for our UK dates as well. All the info that you need, you can get meet and greets and that sort of thing, and discount and merch to whatculture.com/tickets. Back to Raw, and Ludwig Kaiser demands all the fans' gratitude as he talks about beating Penta up and winning that triple threat recently to grab back the attention that Penta had stolen from him. Ludwig described himself as a future world champion, and I'm not against that, to be perfectly honest, but he said that Penta needed to stay away from him because what John Cena did to Cody Rhodes would pale into insignificance compared to what he would do to Penta. But Penta didn't do that. Penta came out with his awesome entrance, attacked Ludwig Kaiser, dived onto him, and stood tall. Really excited to see where they go next with this, because I think a lot of us assumed that Penta was maybe going to, tag with Rey Mysterio to take on the New Day at WrestleMania, but with the news coming out, well, last night and today about Rey Fenix being gone from AEW and being a free agent, could that match happen at WrestleMania? The Lucha Bros versus the New Day? Shut up and take my money. Kathy Kelly interviews Bianca Belair, who's obviously got mixed emotions with what happened at Elimination Chamber. She's very upset about what happened with Jade Cargill and Naomi and says she's going to deal with that privately and then talk about it publicly. But obviously she's ecstatic about winning the Elimination Chamber and punching her ticket to the show of shows. She reminds us you cannot spell WrestleMania without EST, and yeah, she's not wrong. I do want to quickly mention A Town Down Under, by the way. I think this is one of those segments that you sometimes see in the ad breaks on Netflix, but regardless, I want to mention them because I'm becoming more and more of a fan of theirs every single week. First of all, they had a brilliant triple threat match with Obafemi in NXT just recently, and I am starting to believe this Austin Theory babyface run may actually have legs, despite all of the evidence to the contrary, basically. The Austin Theory, we all kind of want to yeet, to be perfectly honest, being the thing that yet again is driving a wedge between him and Grayson Waller is just fantastic. And I also genuinely laughed out loud as they were getting interviewed, and before a question was even asked, Grayson Waller insisted, I'll happily sell my soul to The Rock. You and me both, mate. A video next that I'm sure will divide fans' opinion, but I'm a huge fan of Chad Gable's, and I love a bit of mystery, so I'm going to give it an up as Chad Gable was looking around the Los Hermanos meat market with that card that he was given by Dominic Mysterio to find the secret to Lucha Libre. Basically, he's asking locals, and they're no idea what he's talking about, but he eventually meets a mystery man down an alleyway who says that Chad Gable can't fight what he doesn't understand, but this mystery man has the answer in a box, and there's a funny bit with Chad Gable handing more and more money over to get what's inside that. But he finally does gain possession of the box, and the mystery person says that he now wields power beyond his understanding. And Chad Gable opens up the box, it's like something out of bloody Pulp Fiction, this. His eyes light up, and he pulls something out, but we don't get to see what it is. Look, I know it might be a bit of silly bollocks sports entertainment, but that is right up my alley. What's in the box? The tag team titles are on the line next in a very meaty match as the War Raiders, not Viking, Michael Cole, took on the Creed brothers for the tag team titles. It was all the usual good stuff from the War Raiders early on. I'm still forever impressed. I've seen it in person in WCW by Ivar's handspring elbow that he does, but the Creed brothers fight back. Julius drop kicks Ivar out to the floor to take us to a break, and when we come back, they've got one of the War Raiders up in a stalling suplex, which is just insane. Julius hits Eric with an angle slam, and then Brutus comes off the top with a wild-looking 450. There's a superplex in there, and then some missed moonsaults from Brutus, and then Ivar. And so Julius just follows that up with a shooting star press off the top rope. Wow. The Creed brothers set up for their finish, the Brutus bomb, but Eric manages to slip out. Julius gets knocked to the outside and squished against the ring by Ivar. And in the end, the War Raiders hit War Machine to get the 1, 2, 3 and retain their tag team titles. This is another match I'm going to give a simultaneous up and down to. The up is for the action. This is exactly what I want to see from these four lads. And the Creed brothers have had my jaw on the floor from the moment they debuted in NXT. This is the sort of match they should be having week in, week out. None of this DQ bollocks like they did with these four recently. But the down has to come in because that's two big losses for American Made. I'm hopeful that Master Gable, whatever he's got in that box, can turn this around. But yeah, the Creed brothers should be tag team champions in 2025. No questions asked. Ivy Nile should hopefully get some sort of mid-card title as well. And for God's sake, give Chad Gable a belt. As I said, we kept cutting back to the events of Elimination Chamber with kids crying about their hero John Cena finally turning heel after 20-odd years. But this one was all about what happened with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in that brutal, unsanctioned match. And of course, the return of Randy Orton. Michael Cole giving us the news, unfortunately, that Sami Zayn has re-aggravated his neck injury and it's out indefinitely. Could he be in danger of missing WrestleMania? I know the carrying cross match has been speculated. It looked like Owens is going to face Randy Orton, of course, at WrestleMania. But regardless, get well soon to everybody involved. That match looked rough. Ow! There's a pre-taped LWO promo with them saying that yes, that the New Day put them down, but they couldn't take their hearts. And Rey Mysterio promises to give Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, alongside his mate Dragon Lee, the worst Monday of their lives next week. He's very proud of his team, his Latinos, and he reminds us that New Day sucks. Can't wait for this next week. Bron Breakker's being interviewed in the crowd during a break, and this sort of feeds in as we come back from it as well. He's talking about the Judgment Day and Dom's Dirty Sanchez, don't Google it. Carlito being the Apple Man. He's about to turn his attention to Finn Balor when the man himself comes out and says, the only reason you're still champion is because the Judgment Day let you be champion. And Bron's like, no, the only reason I'm champion is because I'm a dog. I'm going to kill the entire Judgment Day. Finn's like, ha ha ha, I eat rookies like you for breakfast and I'm going to put you down, you dog. And that's enough for Bron Breakker to storm through the crowd to try and attack Finn. There's the usual shenanigans with other members of the Judgment Day. Carlito gets sent into the Timekeeper's area. There's a bit where Dom flies in, caught and is suplexed, but Balor does get his man. He hits Bron Breakker with a sling blade as he slides into the ring, but it's not enough to keep the champion down, and it looks like finally Bron Breakker's going to kill Finn Balor, but Dom pulls him to safely, so Bron is like, well, someone's going to die, and he sprints around the ring and just nails Carlito with that awesome looking spear. I really like this. I'm going to give it an up for a variety of different reasons. It seems like we're going on a bit of a diversion with Bron ahead of WrestleMania. I still think that match is going to be Bron Breakker versus AJ Styles because the phenomenal forearm into the spear just kind of makes sense, to be perfectly honest. But also, Balor versus Bron Breakker in the interim is going to be a load of fun as well. And I just love seeing Bron Breakker on my telly, and I love seeing him spear fools. It's never going to be as good as the one he gave to IShowSpeed, but still, this was a nice look, and yeah, Bron Breakker's the best. Another video package of John Cena's heel turn, this time focusing on what a good guy John Cena used to be before he turned into an absolute bastard on Saturday night. And also it was mentioned that Cody Rhodes is going to respond to this on SmackDown. That is going to be one tasty affair. Jey Uso comes to check on Otis, who's getting checked over in the back, and Kathy Kelly grabs Jey and asks whether or not what Gunther has just done kind of threw him off his game. And look, yeah, Jey admits that Gunther does have him somewhat doubting himself, but he fires up. His back's against the wall. Gunther's promised 10 weeks of hell, but he's going to walk through all that and fear no evil. He says, Gunther, yes, you did choke me out tonight. You put me to sleep, but you woke up a monster. One word, 4 letters, yeet. And then we got to our main event of the evening, Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky for the Women's World Championship. And of course, the number 1 contender, Bianca Belair, who is heading to WrestleMania regardless, came down to watch this at ringside. It's quite even early on. Obviously, 2 phenomenal wrestlers, Io and Rhea. But Rhea got the advantage by swinging Io into the barricade and hitting a suplex as we go to a break. During the break, by the way, Io Sky stomping on the arm of Rhea Ripley. That's going to hurt in the morning. I'll be honest, I could watch these two fight all night long. They just work so well together, don't they? You've got the power of Rio countered by the smarts and high-flying ability of Io Sky. So when Rhea drops Io with a big boot and then sets up for a riptide, that gets countered into a DDT by Io Sky, who then starts basically playing Damage Control's greatest hit. She hits a running corner boots in an homage to Dakota Kai, Kairi Sane elbow drop, and she gets the Asuka lock on Rhea, who has to fight out of it. Nothing but love for Damage Control. Again, they fight up top. This time it's Rhea who gets the advantage, hitting an avalanche back suplex and locking Io in the prism trap, but then she flips her out of that and sends her into the post. She hits a running sunset flip powerbomb off the apron into the barricade to take advantage, sends Rhea back in. Is this it? Io comes off the top with a moonsault. 1, 2. Rhea just gets her foot on the ropes and has to bail to the outside just for a breather. But Io Sky won't let up. She dives onto Rhea on the outside and sets up for a huge Asai moonsault onto her as well. But Rhea catches her on her shoulders and dumps her on the announce desk. At this point, she will happily take the count-out victory. She dives back into the ring. It looks like Io's not going to make it, but cheered on by the number 1 contender, Bianca Belair, Io just makes it in to break the count. Rhea, though, does not take kindly to this. She gets out into Bianca Belair's face and says, "What the bloody hell are you doing, Bianca? Cheering on my goddamn opponent?" And they get into a bit of a shoving match. Jessica Carr thankfully doesn't call for the DQ, as I was terrified she was about to. She quite rightly says, "Stop it, you two! We've got a title match to sort." So Rhea heads back into the ring, picks up the seemingly lifeless body of Io Sky, gets her up at the top rope. She's going for a super riptide. She turns to Bianca Belair and says, "See you at bloody WrestleMania, mate. Throw another shrimp on the barbie." She didn't say that second half, I've got to be perfectly honest. But she has taken too long. Io Sky hits a Hurricane Rana off the top, a moonsault. 1, 2, 3. Io Sky is your new world champion. She celebrates. The pyro goes off. Bianca can't believe it, and neither can Rhea Ripley, who is absolutely livid with herself. It appears as though we are going to get Io Sky versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. But what do you think? Do you think this is going to be made into a triple threat like they did kind of protect Rhea with that finish? She didn't get attacked by Bianca Belair, but she did get distracted somewhat. I mean, she distracted herself, to be perfectly honest. But I know people have been upset about multi-person matches at WrestleMania. Come on. Bianca, Rhea, Io, let's have it. But all in all, a great episode post-Elimination Chamber of Monday Night Raw. I'm just so excited to be finally on the home straight of the road to WrestleMania. Do let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below, or you can follow me on X at Adam Wilbourn. While you're at it, why not check out this morning's news video right here? Thanks for watching. Simon Miller will be back next week. I believe Andy Murray is doing Dynamite Ups and Downs on Thursday. Enjoy that, and I'll see you soon.